Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel Dark Pulse, where we dive into the darkest stories with a flashlight and a sarcastic smile. Have you ever woken up thinking your biggest worry was finishing your breakfast, and then, boom, you're in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, babysitting your siblings while trying not to get eaten by a jaguar? Yeah, welcome to Colombia. Our story starts way before the crash. 4 kids, 1 mom, a mission. They were headed to meet their father. Nothing heroic, no secret mission, just a regular let's visit dad kind of day. The oldest, Leslie, 13 years old, already had the soul of a grandmother and the patience of a monk. Her idea of fun? Keeping her 3 siblings alive while everyone else complains about the heat. Then there's Selene, age 9, quiet, observant, and probably judging everyone silently. Next up, Tin Noriel, 4 years old, chaos in a human body. And finally, Kristen, barely 11 months. Cute, helpless, and constantly leaking from at least 2 places. They belong to the Hitoto people, an indigenous tribe that knows the jungle like most of us know our Instagram filters. These kids were raised with mud between their toes and mosquitoes in their dreams. Jungle born, jungle trained. But this trip wasn't about survival. It was about family. Their mom decided to fly with them on a tiny plane, the Cessna 206. That thing looked more like a mosquito with wings than a plane. And honestly, it sounded like it had lung issues. Still, they boarded. The mother was nervous. You know that mom sense? When they don't say anything, but their eyes are like, yeah, this is probably a terrible idea, but we're doing it anyway. She loaded a few supplies: rice, water, diapers, good vibes. Not exactly apocalypse gear. The pilot revved the engine. It growled like a blender trying to shred rocks. The kids laughed, fascinated. To them, it was a flying adventure, a cool story to tell their cousins. To the jungle, it was just breakfast. The plane took off, wobbly, but up. Below them, endless green. The kind of green that stretches so far, it makes you feel like you're flying over another planet. No roads, no towns, just trees and the sounds of the Amazon breathing below. About 20 minutes into the flight, the engine stuttered, like a cough. Then another, then silence. The mom grabbed Leslie's hand. The pilot said something no one remembers what. Probably not helpful. And then they dropped. A scream, a crack, branches tearing at metal, the sound of the earth coming for them. And then nothing. Silence. Just the forest, and for kids, still breathing.
There's a kind of silence that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels wrong. The kind that comes after metal screams through tree branches and gravity decides it hates you personally. Leslie opened her eyes to that kind of silence. The jungle didn't care that they'd just fallen out of the sky. Birds chirped, bugs buzzed. The Amazon kept being the Amazon, like, oh, a plane crash. Cool. Anyway, Leslie was still strapped into her seat. Barely. Her arms were shaking. Her ears were ringing. Her brain? Somewhere between WH80 the hell just happened and is this a dream? She turned her head. Her mom wasn't moving. Neither was the pilot. Or the man next to him. Dead. All 3. No drama. No last words. Just gone. She looked behind her. 3 pairs of tiny eyes stared back. Selene had blood on her cheek. Tin was crying. Baby Kristen screaming like someone stole his bottle. Classic. But they were alive. And just like that, Leslie wasn't a kid anymore. She became the adult. No training, no prep, just instincts, trauma, and whatever snack-sized bravery she had left. She unbuckled herself and crawled out of the wreckage. The smell? A mix of gasoline, blood, and jungle sweat. 5 stars on TripAdvisor. The sun burned her face. The ground was soft to soft. The plane had landed, if you could call it that, in a tangle of mud, roots, and vines that looked like nature's own middle finger. Leslie didn't cry. Not yet. She checked on her siblings. Minor bruises, scratches, no broken bones. Nothing life-threatening unless you count being lost in an endless rainforest with no food or shelter. But hey, silver linings, right? She grabbed what she could from the wreck. A half-squash pack of flour, a baby bottle, and, oh yeah, a makeshift diaper bag. Not exactly your average survival kit, but she wasn't picky. Selene asked, "Where's Mom?" Leslie didn't answer. Because how do you tell a 9-year-old that your mom's not coming back, and neither is breakfast? Instead, she said, "We have to move." The jungle doesn't hand out survival manuals. But Leslie knew one rule: staying by the wreck equals death. In her culture, you listen to the forest. You respect it. And right now, the forest was whispering, "Get out or get eaten." So Leslie did what any child-turned-leader would do. She picked up her baby brother, took her sister's hand, told her little brother to shut up and walk, and stepped into the green unknown. No GPS, no food, just for kids, one bag, and an endless rainforest. Jungle rule number 1: everything either bites, stings, or gives you diarrhea. Leslie didn't read that anywhere, she just kind of figured it out the hard way. They had left the wreckage behind. A few hours of walking felt like forever. Tin kept tripping over roots. Selene kept asking, "Are we there yet?" Like this was a road trip to Grandma's. And baby Kristen? Crying on and off like a car alarm with abandonment issues. Leslie was exhausted. Not the "I stayed up all night watching YouTube" kind, no. This was the soul-crushing kind where your legs hurt, your brain is foggy, and you can still hear the sound of the crash echoing in your head. Eventually, they stopped near a thick tree, big enough to give some cover, not big enough to feel safe. Leslie sat down. Her shirt was soaked in sweat and rain. The baby was clinging to her like a koala on Red Bull. She looked at her siblings, mud-caked, shaking, and completely confused. And she realized something terrifying. They were all waiting for her to fix it. She was 13. She didn't even know how to cook rice properly. But now she was expected to be Bear Grylls, Mother Teresa, and Dora the Explorer all in one. She dug into the bag. One diaper, a mostly empty bottle, some flour. If Gordon Ramsay saw this, he'd punch her through the rainforest. The rain started, because of course it did. Not a drizzle, a full Amazonian downpour like the sky said. "Oh, you thought this was bad? Hold my coconut water." They huddled under the tree. The leaves didn't help much. Rain dripped on their heads, backs, and faces. It was cold, wet, miserable. Selene started to cry. Not the loud kind. The quiet, trembling kind that stabs you right in the chest. Leslie didn't cry. Not yet. She couldn't afford to. Instead, she tried to distract them. "Let's pretend we're explorers," she said. Tin replied, "I want to go home." "Yeah, kid. Don't we all?" Night came fast. The forest got louder. Cicadas, frogs, whatever the hell those glowing eyes in the bushes were. Leslie held Kristen close, whispering songs she barely remembered. Her voice cracked. Her stomach growled. Her heart pounded. She hadn't eaten all day. Neither had the others. But she didn't say it. She just pressed her lips together and pretended to be strong. That first night was the longest of their lives. No fire, no blankets, just skin against skin, soaked in rain, surrounded by darkness that felt alive. Leslie stayed awake the whole night, listening, watching, praying, and somewhere, in the middle of that suffocating jungle silence, she made herself a promise. "We are not dying out here." Morning in the Amazon doesn't gently wake you up. It slaps you across the face with humidity and mosquito bites. Leslie opened her eyes to a chorus of howling monkeys, screaming birds, and something wet crawling across her leg. Probably not a Disney animal. She didn't scream. She just flicked it off like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" The others were still asleep or pretending to be. Baby Kristen whimpered, dry-lipped and pale. Tin was curled up next to him like a scared puppy. Selene had her back to everyone, pretending the forest wasn't happening. Leslie stood up. Her entire body ached. Her stomach felt like it had collapsed into itself and was now eating her spine. They had to find food, water, anything. She knew some fruits were edible. The Hitoto taught her that. She just didn't know which ones wouldn't turn your intestines into a slip and slide of pain. So she walked, alone. Maybe 100 steps from the group. Maybe 200. Time and distance don't exist in the Amazon. It's just green forever. Then she saw it. A tree with bright orange berries. She squinted, sniffed, touched. They looked familiar. Not in a grandma-made jam from this kind of way, more like one of the elders mentioned these won't kill you immediately. She picked a few and took them back. Selene stared. Tin asked, Is it candy? No, kid. It's trauma fruit. But she didn't say that. She handed out tiny bites. Waited. No one died. So, success? They ate slowly, like prisoners. And for a brief moment, the air felt a little less cruel. But the jungle doesn't give out victories for free. Because that's when the ants showed up. Not regular ants. Jungle ants. The kind that look like they pay taxes and own property. Hundreds of them. Swarming over their feet, up their legs, into their clothes. Screaming, slapping, jumping, crying. It was chaos. Jungle style. Leslie grabbed Kristen and started moving. They ran until the swarm gave up, probably too annoyed to chase toddlers. Now they were itchy, sweaty, hungry again, and covered in dirt. Leslie sat down, face blank. She wanted to quit, just for 5 minutes. But Selene was watching, and Kristen started coughing. And the jungle? It just sat there, watching, waiting. So Leslie took a breath, wiped her eyes, and stood back up. Because the Amazon doesn't care about your feelings. And she wasn't about to let it win.
There's a moment in survival when your body stops asking for food and starts negotiating with your soul instead. By day 5, Leslie wasn't hungry. She was hollow. Her legs felt like they were made of smoke. Her thoughts, slippery like soap in the rain. Even her blinks were slower, like her eyes were buffering. The kids weren't doing much better. Tien had stopped talking, just stared at the trees, whispering nonsense to himself. So Lenny was silent, clutching a stick like it was the only law left in the jungle. And Kristen, oh Kristen, he barely moved anymore. He wasn't crying, which was worse. Leslie checked his pulse every few hours, not because she knew what she was doing, but because it made her feel like she was still in control of something. They hadn't seen a person, or a path, or even trash. Not even a wrapper. Just green, wet, endless green. Then, something strange. A sound. Far off, faint, but real. A low buzz, like an angry mosquito with an engine. A plane. Leslie's eyes widened. She jumped up, screamed, waved. The others tried to mimic her. They yelled. They cried. They ran into a clearing, if you could call a slightly less leafy patch of death a clearing. The sound grew louder. She could almost feel it. The rotor. The rescue. The warmth. And then, it drifted. Gone. Just like that. Back to jungle. Back to bugs. Back to breathless trees. Leslie collapsed to her knees. She wanted to scream again. But what would it do? The forest didn't care. The plane didn't see. The sky wasn't listening. Her mind flickered. For a second, she saw her mother sitting by a tree, holding Kristen, smiling like nothing ever happened. She blinked. Gone. Was she hallucinating? Probably. 5 days of dehydration, sun exposure, and 0 calories will do that. But she didn't tell the others. They needed her sane. Even if she wasn't anymore. Night came again. With it, cold, crawling things, and that thick, wet silence. Kristen coughed once. Leslie looked up at the sky, teeth clenched. If no one's coming, she whispered, then I'll take them out myself. Because no one survives the Amazon by waiting. You survive by moving. Even if you're falling apart.
By day 6, Leslie had stopped waiting for miracles. She wasn't praying for helicopters anymore. She was praying for one dry spot to sit. Just one. No luck. Her legs were scratched raw. Her shoes, if you could call those soggy lumped shoes, were coming apart. Tien kept complaining his foot hurt, but also refused to walk without a stick he called Sorty. Leslie didn't argue. If naming a twig helped him keep moving, then great. Long live Sorty. The baby, still hanging on, breathing, barely. She fed him water droplets collected from leaves. Not ideal, but hey, hydration is hydration. She started noticing things, like how the birds got quieter in certain places, or how the air felt heavier near thick vines. The jungle was teaching her, one mosquito bite at a time. Then came the river, not wide, not deep, but fast, and muddy, and loud. Leslie stood at the edge, staring. On the other side, more jungle, but she had a feeling, a gut instinct. Maybe they'd find fruit, or a trail, or a less deadly form of misery. She didn't hesitate. She wrapped Kristen tightly, held Solene's hand, and told Tien, greater than if you fall, Sorty's not gonna save you. He nodded like a soldier. They crossed. The current pulled. Kristen cried. Leslie almost dropped him. Heart leapt to her throat. But she powered through. They stumbled to the other side. Soaked and shivering. Victory? Nope. Because that's when the snake came. Not huge. Not a movie monster. Just a long, angry tube of muscle and fangs, sliding across the mud in front of them like, "Sup losers." So Lenny froze. Tian whispered dragon. Leslie held her ground. She raised her arm like she knew what she was doing, which she didn't, and shouted, "Greater than go." AWAY. The snake looked at her, blinked if snakes even blink, and just slithered off. Did she just win a showdown with a jungle demon using sheer rage? Yes, she did. They kept walking. Slower now, weaker. Kristen's breathing was shallow, so Lenny limped. Tian had ditched Sorty. Apparently, he'd outgrown it emotionally. Leslie whispered to herself, "Greater than keep moving, no matter what. Even if my legs give out, even if the trees laugh at me." The jungle didn't answer, but the silence felt less hopeless than before.
If misery was a sport, these kids would have taken home gold, silver, and bronze all by day 12. Leslie had stopped counting the days, not because it didn't matter, but because it hurt to know how long they'd been forgotten. The jungle had started to feel normal, which is a terrifying sentence to say out loud. Tin barely walked now. Selene mumbled to herself like her brain was buffering bad memories. And baby Kristen? He was down to soft whimpers, like even crying took too much energy. Leslie's arms were numb from carrying him. Her legs were wooden stumps. Her mind? Running on fumes and stubbornness. Then, one morning, or maybe it was afternoon, they heard it again. That low, distant hum. A helicopter. Louder this time. Closer. Leslie didn't even stand up. She just laid Kristen down gently, cupped her hands, and screamed. The others joined in, broken voices echoing through trees that didn't care. The sound came closer, then it faded. Gone. Like someone hit mute on reality. Tears rolled down her face. Quiet ones. Not dramatic. She wasn't sad. She was tired of trying. But then something weird happened. While dragging her muddy feet through the underbrush, she saw it. A mango peel. Clean. Fresh. With teeth marks. And not jungle animal teeth. Human teeth. She froze. Stared. Blinked. Then she saw something else, a boot print. Not her size. Not Tin's. Not Selene's. Someone had been here. Recently. Her heart skipped, then sprinted. She grabbed the others, motioned silently. Stay close. And shut up. Her voice was hoarse, cracked but firm. They followed slowly, like a pack of wet ghosts. Every rustle in the leaves made Leslie twitch. Every bird call felt like an alarm. But she didn't stop. Because for the first time in what felt like centuries, she wasn't just surviving. She was tracking. There's tired, and then there's jungle day 34 tired. At this point, Leslie didn't walk. She drifted, like a ghost with a baby attached to her chest and two siblings dragging behind like malfunctioning NPCs. Their skin? Covered in bites, rashes, and mysterious blotches that probably had Latin names. Their clothes? Torn, soaked, and smelling like something that died. And then Ray died. The jungle wasn't trying to kill them anymore. It was just watching patiently, like it knew they'd break eventually. Kristen didn't cry anymore. Not even a whimper. He just laid there, hot, breathing, but quiet. And that scared Leslie more than snakes or storms or hallucinations. Selene walked in zigzags now. Tin talked to trees. Once, he tried to catch air and put it in his pocket for later, honestly. Not a bad idea. Leslie still hadn't eaten. She tried chewing bark once. Verdict: 0 stars. Do not recommend. Somewhere around day 20, she saw a parrot bright red, sitting calmly on a branch. She stared at it for 10 straight minutes, wondering if she could eat it raw. Spoiler: the parrot won that stare down. Her legs were done. She collapsed 3 times in one day. On the 4th fall, she didn't get up, just laid there, face in the mud, baby on her chest, breathing like each inhale cost money. But she didn't cry, because if she cried, she'd choke. And if she choked, she'd die. And if she died, who would carry them? She rolled to her side, sucked dew off a leaf, and whispered, "Get up." No one was around to hear it. But somehow, the jungle responded with silence. She crawled, pulled herself up using a branch shaped like a question mark, which felt appropriate. They needed help. Soon. Not next week. Not tomorrow. Now. But no one was coming. Yet. Day 39. If hell had a vacation home, it would look like this place. Leslie couldn't feel her legs anymore. Not numb, just absent. Like her body deleted them from existence. Her arms were sunburned, shaking. Her mouth tasted like moss. And her thoughts? Slippery, broken, looping in circles like, keep them alive, keep them alive. Keep. Kristen didn't move that morning, didn't open his eyes, didn't make a sound. Leslie touched his forehead, burning. She whispered his name. Nothing. She shook him, gently at first, then harder. Still nothing. Selene was too weak to react. Tin sat nearby, holding a stick like it was his soul. Leslie's heartbeat turned into a drum, a war drum, inside her skull. She looked up at nothing, just leaves, branches, sky. Are you kidding me? She didn't scream. She growled. It wasn't anger at God, or nature, or fate. It was rage at hope. Hope was a liar. She fell to her knees, held Kristen like a bundle of silence, and whispered, "Please, one more step, one more breath. Just open your eyes." And then it happened. A sound. Not a plane. Not a bird. A voice. Male. Spanish. Human. Far off. But real. Hola. Hey, Alguien? Leslie's eyes snapped open. She blinked. Twice. Grabbed a stick. Slammed it on the ground. No strength to scream. No words. Just noise. Thunk. 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 Again. Again. She pulled every ounce of breath from her chest and let it out like a dying lion. Here. Silence. Then. Nios. Escuch algo. Leaves rustled. Footsteps. Bark cracking. Leslie collapsed on her side, holding Kristen tighter. "We're here," she mouthed. And for the first time in 39 days, the jungle answered. They say the jungle doesn't give back what it takes. Well, it just did. Day 40. Leslie didn't move when she saw them, 3 men in uniform, machetes in hand, eyes scanning like hawks. Behind them, a dog. The dog saw her first. Didn't bark. Didn't growl. Just looked. One of the soldiers froze. Ak! Los Nias! Boots stomped through the mud. Radios clicked. Spanish exploded into the trees. Leslie blinked slowly. Her body wanted to sleep forever. But she whispered, "Kristen first." She handed him over like a fragile relic. The soldier gasped when he felt the heat from the baby's body. They didn't ask questions. They didn't cry. They just moved fast. A stretcher appeared. Hands lifted her siblings. Leslie tried to stand. Failed. 2 arms grabbed her under the shoulders. She looked up. Saw the sky. Not leaves. Not vines. Sky. Open. Blue. Blinding. And she smiled. For the first time in 40 days. The helicopter blades roared. Wind. Dust. Noise. But inside Leslie's head, silence. Not the jungle kind. The good kind. The kind that feels like safety. As the helicopter rose above the canopy, she looked down. That endless green. That monster. That graveyard. And she beat it. Not because she was strong, but because she had to be. All for survived. Against logic. Against nature. Against the silence. This was the story of the 4 children who faced death in the heart of the Amazon and walked out alive. Don't forget to subscribe to Dark Pulse. Goal is 1,000. Let's reach it together. You won't believe what's coming next.